Hello, 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 everybody. How are you? How are you? This is Kenneth Overton, your host of Black Opera Live, which is presented by Black Opera Productions, LLC. And that is the production company that is producing the up and coming documentary, Black Opera, where we explore the lives and tell the stories of six great Black opera legends, as well as telling the stories of a handful of new opera stars that are making waves in the industry today. We are so excited about this project and so excited to bring it to you, hopefully at the close of 2021 of this year. So I wanted to tell you all about a few things. Thank you so much for being here today on this Saturday afternoon. I don't know where you all are calling in from, but I am in cold North Jersey, just outside of New York City, where there's ugly, dirty snow on the ground. I wanted to go away. But the good thing is that, I haven't had a cold in over a year. It must be something about that whole mask thing, keeping the germs away. I haven't been sick for an entire year. Interesting. Wear your mask, wash your hands, folks. I don't know what y'all were doing or not doing before this, but keep it up. First things first, I wanted to congratulate a very special gentleman who I consider a brother, a mentor. I look up to him, a great friend, and a marvelous artist. The great bass, Kevin Short, is now the newest member of the voice faculty of the Juilliard School in New York City. I am so excited. Up until the last 6 months, Juilliard had never had a Black voice teacher on their faculty. Can you imagine that? With all the Black talent that has come through that school, now they have Denise Graves and the great Kevin Short. And I am sending you big congrats, brother. I love you. And the people who are going to win are those students. Those students are going to be so blessed by what you bring, the artistry and the technique and the professionalism that I know you're going to pour into them. So congratulations, my friend. I love you, love you, love you. Next, I wanted to tell you about a wonderful event that is happening tomorrow. The Fort Worth Opera is producing a virtual gala called A Night of Black Excellence, Past, Present, and Future. And what makes this even more special is that Fort Worth is now run by General Director Afton Battle, a fantastic, marvelous, powerful, beautiful, innovative Black woman. And I want the community at large to come out and support in large numbers. I'm going to have Afton Battle on the show today towards the end so that she can tell you more about it and how you can participate and see the performance tomorrow. And now I know coins are tight for some people because of the times that we're in, but listen, I'm singing on the gala and they gave me 2 tickets to give away. And so what better way than to give them away on the show? So I'm going to give 2 trivia questions that pertain to Black Opera Live. So I hope you've been watching. And if you get the answers right, put your answers in the chat. And I have a spy in the chat today who's going to check and see who got the answer correct first. And they're going to text those answers to Afton Battle, and she's going to come on and tell us who the winners are so that they can join us for the gala, champagne and all, tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. And then I want to tell you about the last 2 shows for Black History Month for Black Opera Live. On our regularly scheduled Monday at 7 p.m., this coming Monday, February 22nd, I am celebrating the Golden Ladies of Glyndebourne. Now, if you all know about Porgy and Bess history, you know that this amazing film was made by the Glyndebourne Festival, directed by Trevor Nunn. And I remember being a young person watching this film version of this opera at least 500 times. And I've gotten to know a lot of people who are in the production, but I always looked up to those artists and held them in the highest regard in all of opera, but particularly in that piece. And I have 4 of those ladies with me on Monday. And that film is celebrating its 30th anniversary. I'm so excited. So Paula Dion Ingram Coleman, who acted the role of Clara, and for those of you who don't know, Harolyn Blackwell sang the role on the recording, but was unable to do the film. So Paula had to come in and learn how Harolyn sang and lip sync and act for the movie. And the brilliant Marietta Simpson, who was Mariah, will be here. The incredible Cynthia Clary, who sang Serena, will be here. And my love, Cynthia Heyman Coleman, who sang the role of Bess, will be here on Monday to celebrate 30 years of that amazing production. So please join us on Monday at 7 p.m., same time, same place. And then on my last episode for Black History Month will be Wednesday, February the 24th. The show is busy in this next week. And we rescheduled this interview for Wednesday because my guest lives in Oklahoma. And she, the South of America had a rough week with power outages and this horrible weather. And so we didn't want to risk the internet not being stable. So she said she was available to come on Wednesday. So when she's available, I'm available. So the great Leona Mitchell will be here with me on Wednesday at 7. So come back and enjoy all of this greatness, all this Black excellence. And we'll have a great time. But today, folks, today, I am so excited to have with me 5 gentlemen who I admire so much. I admire their work and their perseverance and their gifts, their talents, their everything. 5 composers. But we're talking about specifically their compositions of the Negro Spiritual today. They compose everything. They write choral stuff. They're writing operas. They're writing art songs. They're doing the whole thing. But we're shining the light on the arranged solo spiritual. And we're going to talk to them about their process and their inspiration and for writing this and a whole bunch of good stuff about one of my favorite genres of music in general. I tell people all the time that if I could make my sole career off of singing spirituals, I would. And I want to sing music of all of the gentlemen on this panel today. So let me tell you a little bit about them and we'll get started. First, Dr. Timothy Amukule is a composer and arranger of vocal music. He graduated from City College of the City University of New York, where he majored in music theory and biochemistry. Get that together. Music theory and biochemistry. We're going to have to talk about that because science was my worst subject in school. His commissions include Journey to You, a song cycle and short film based on the pictures of William Christenberry and commissioned by the Phillips Collection, due for release in April of 2021. I Will Rise by the New York Regional Chapter of the National Association of Negro Musicians, a song cycle for voice and piano celebrating the life of Dr. Norman Kretschmer by Dr. Sam Seifter. What Sweeter Music, a Christmas cantata by the Queen Anne United Methodist Church, and dozens of songs for classical and gospel recording artists. He loves arranging spirituals and was the composer in residence for the Grady Raham Foundation in 2011, an honor that is bestowed every year to one arranger of spirituals. Other honorees include Uzi Brown, Joseph Joubert, and Roland Carter. And like Alexander Borodin, Fritz Kreisler, and other musicians before him, Dr. Amukule is a working physician and is on faculty at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, Dr. Tim. It's so great to have you here, sir. A widely sought after and award-winning composer, Sean E. Okpebholo has been described by Augusta Reed Thomas as a beautiful artist who has enormous grace in his music and fantasy and color. Okpebholo comfortably composes in various styles and genres, intentional in creating music that is diverse, dynamic, and genuine. His artistry has resulted in many prizes and honors, including first place winner of the 2020 American Prize in Composition, Professional and Wind Band Division, and second place winner in the 2017 American Prize Composition, Professional Orchestral Division, first prize winner in the Flute New Music Consortium Composition Competition, Sound of Late Competition Contest, the Accent 06 International Competition, and the inaugural awardee of the Leslie Adams and Robert Owens Composition Award. Amazing, amazing. Okpebholo maintains a dynamic career as a composer, including performances on 5 continents, over 40 states, almost every major U.S. city at some of the nation's most prestigious performance spaces, including, but not limited to, Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, and the National Cathedral. I am so honored to have this gentleman here with me today. Welcome, Sean. Welcome, Sean. Dave Ragland is a two-time, catch it, not once, but twice, two-time Emmy-nominated composer, vocalist, pianist, and conductor. Hailed as uber talented by the Nashville scene, Dave received an Emmy nomination for composition and music direction for Frist Art Museum's Nick Cave Feat Nashville. Dave Ragland received a second Emmy nomination for I'm Troubled, a musical collaboration with Nashville Ballet's Gerald Watson and violinist Chandler Custer. Dave was nominated for Best Director of a Musical by First Night Honors for Wildcard Productions' run of Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. Most recently, Dave Ragland arranged Lift Every Voice and Sing for Grammy-nominated opera singer Lawrence Brownlee for Concert for Inauguration Day, presented by the Washington National Opera. In Nashville Opera's first ever commission, Dave collaborated with librettist Mary McCullum to create One Vote One, an opera commemorating the centennial of women's suffrage. Dave, in collaboration with the Inversion Vocal Ensemble, Shackled Feet Dance, and Diaspora Orchestra, is slated to debut his opera, Steal Away, as artist in residence for Oz Arts in its upcoming season. I am honored to have this young man here with me today. Welcome, Dave. Welcome, good sir. A native of Memphis, Tennessee, Courtney Carey earned a BA degree in music from the Morehouse College and an MM degree in choral conducting from the Eastman School of Music, in the Professional Studies Diploma in Voice from the Mannes College of Music. His wide range of experience includes teaching at all levels of public and parochial school music education, in addition to conducting church, community, chamber, and collegiate choruses. While a student at Mannes College of Music, Mr. Carey was approached by the Metropolitan Opera Guild to sign on as one of its teaching artists. He has since enjoyed a lengthy relationship with both the Metropolitan Opera and the Met Opera Guild. He has served as associate conductor at the Ephesus Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Harlem, New York, associate adjunct professor and director of the Jubilee Singers at the Westminster Choir College, the director of musical ministries at the First African Methodist Episcopal Church, Bethel, and director of the Brooklyn Ecumenical Choir. In addition to his work as a singer, lecturer, and conductor, Mr. Carey is an accomplished composer and arranger. His choral arrangements, My God is So High, I Ain't Got Weary Yet, Lord, I Want Two Wings, Calvary, and You Can Tell the World, are published by GIA Publications, the Lorenz Corporation, and the Carus Verlag, respectively. In 2014, he formed Courtney's Stars of Tomorrow, a New York-based nonprofit organization committed to presenting top-tier classical musical events. Under his leadership, the organization has performed sold-out concerts to enthusiastic audiences at Carnegie Hall and at Lincoln Center, with its programs having garnered the fiscal support of powerhouse brands and grant makers such as Staples, the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, and the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone. Last year, Mr. Carey created The Whole Review, an American lifestyle publication tailored to the classical singer, covering topics including health, wellness, fashion, beauty, living, and culture. I am honored to have Mr. Courtney here. He is a jack of so many trades, and he, unlike most, masters whatever he put his hands on. So welcome, Courtney. And last but not least, my brother in song and collaboration and just in life, the great Damian Sneed. As a multi-genre recording artist and instrumentalist, Damian Sneed is a pianist, vocalist, organist, composer, conductor, arranger, producer, and arts educator whose work spans multiple genres. He has worked with jazz, classical, pop, and R&B legends, including the late, great Aretha Franklin and the late, great Jesse Norman, which he is featured on Norman's final recording, Bound for the Promised Land, on Albany Records. He also worked with Wynton Marsalis, Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Ashford and Simpson, Ashford and Simpson, Janae Bridges, Lawrence Brownlee, Brandy Inez Sutton, and many others. Damien Sneed has served as music director for Grammy Award-winning gospel artists, the Clark Sisters, Richard Smallwood, Donnie McClurkin, Hezekiah Walker, Marvin Sapp, Karen Clark Shear, Dorinda Clark Cole, and Kim Burrell, amongst many, many others. Damien Sneed is a featured producer and writer on the Clark Sisters' new project, The Return, released on March 13th, 2020. In January 2020, he embarked on his 40-city North American tour of his show entitled We Shall Overcome, a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., featuring Damien Sneed. The 2020 tour kicked off on Tuesday, January 14th, 2020 at Joe's Pub. I was there in New York, and made stops at concert halls and universities in the US and Canada. The tour concluded on Wednesday, March 11th, 2020 at the College of Southern Idaho Fine Arts Center in Twin Falls, Idaho. In honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Sneed brought his brand of classical, jazz, and sanctified soul to venues across the country during Dr. King's holiday, Black History Month and Women's History Month. We Shall Overcome is a joyous celebration reflecting on the triumphant and victorious moments during our history. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but my friends and the people that I hang with and commune with and work with are excellent. These Black men of valor on this panel today are some of the finest musicians and people that you will ever meet. And I encourage you to not only listen to their work, but if their works are being performed, buy a ticket and go see it. If when their music is made available, get your card out and purchase the sheet music and sing it on your recitals and sing it on your concerts. I implore all the singers of the world to not just sing the music of our passed on greats who have written tremendous music, and not just the Western European composers that we love so much, but the music of the composers who are living and breathing and writing today, because they're writing about what's going on in our world and writing from a contemporary view of what our society is today. So I welcome on Black Opera Live today, Sean E. Opebolo, Courtney Carey, Timothy Amukele, Damien Sneed, and Mr. Dave Ragland. Welcome, fellas. How are you? It's so good to see all of you. So good to see all of you. So, before we get started with the questions for my panel, I wanted to throw the first question out, my first Black Opera Live trivia question. And if you get this right, you get a free ticket to the virtual gala tomorrow. I have a spy in the chat to see if you get the question right. The question is, I started Black Opera Live on June 1st, 2020 on Instagram. Who was my very first guest? Write it in the chat. My spy will let Afton Battle know who that is, and we will get you your ticket. Who was my first guest on Black Opera Live, June 1st, 2020 on Instagram? Welcome, fellas. It's so good to have you here. I want to start with the first question. This is for everybody. Where did you grow up? And how and when did music come into your life? Let's start with you, Sean, sir.
Well, so good to be here amongst these great, fine composers here. I won't get into the long story, but basically, I grew up poor, a single mom, the whole 9 yards. She worked multiple jobs in Lexington, Kentucky. We lived in the projects, and the Salvation Army church bus would come to our community every Wednesday to pick up the kids for like a Boy Scout, Girl Scout type program. And so we did that for a little bit. My mom, I was about 6 years old. My mom being overprotective, she still is. She hopped on that bus with us, so she wasn't going to send our kids to some strange place. And so after a couple weeks or maybe a couple months of doing this program every Wednesday, we started going to the Salvation Army Church. Now, in America, we know the Salvation Army as the bell ringers and, helping disasters and things like that, and helping the homeless. Well, the church has actually huge music tradition. In fact, it's one of the strongest denominations musically. So long story short, I basically had free music lessons by world-class musicians at the Salvation Army. And that's where I started. And I started studying composition with a famous band composer, James Curnow, who was a parishioner at my church at age 13 or 14. And the rest is history. So I'm truly grateful for people who literally took time from their busy schedules, professional musicians who saw this kid with potential and gave me free music lessons.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. And that's what community is all about, pouring into our young people and supporting them as soon as possible, as soon as we can get them. And shout out to our federal government and our elected officials. Get music back in schools as a priority. Get music back in schools as something as normal as English class. Hello, somebody, and make sure that your elected officials are doing that wherever you live and wherever you're calling in from. Hold them to the fire. Arts education is life education. Get it together, people. All right, same question to you, Mr. Courtney Carey. Tell us where you're from and how did you get involved in all this music stuff?
Well, first of all, before I even say any of that, I just have to thank you so much for this opportunity and like to be sitting here with all these like cool guys. Like I want a cap right now. Like I just feel like I'm missing something. So thank you for all you're doing. I mean, it's wonderful. We love you, and just keep going and keep presenting all this wonderful content for us to enjoy. I wanted to say that to you. So about music, I sort of got my start back in Memphis, really in the band. This was the days where, in public schools, you could have a band class, you could go in, check any instrument you want out, the schools owned the instruments. And so I was very fortunate at Bellevue Junior High School in Memphis, Tennessee, to go in and learn how to play the bassoon. That was the instrument that I chose. And so I played the bassoon for 3 years. I learned how to read music and all the scales. I could probably still play it now, even though it's been a while, because we like really learned our instruments. I guess unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, right after that, my 8th grade year, our band teacher left and she went to go become a guidance counselor because her master's degree was in psychology and early childhood development. And so she wanted to, do what her degree was. And so I actually started singing because my band teacher left. And I'd been singing a little bit, in church or whatever, but not like anything serious. And so after a while, I sort of got the singing bug and I auditioned for the Creative and Performing Arts Camp in Memphis, which was a summer camp for students of all artistic, media. So dance, theater, vocal, blah, blah. And after I joined that summer camp and I did a performance of the hand jive, I can't remember a word of it, but the hand jive was what I did. And that's where the true music bug sort of stuck with me. And I've been doing it ever since. That I knew I wanted to do something in music as a lifelong career.
Wow. Now, Dr. Tim, will you tell us, sir, where you're from and how you got involved in music? And we'll get into a little bit later where the science part came in. That blew my mind. But tell us, sir.
So let's see. So I was born in Ohio, and I spent most of my life in the U.S. But I actually spent my formative years in Nigeria, and that's where I was introduced to music. And actually, it has it has influenced in a good way my music making and and kind of the colors I have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking back now as you guys were all talking. My first piano teacher was my dad. It's pretty strict, and he's upstairs right now in my house, and he knows I'm doing this interview. He's very excited. He was my first piano teacher. My first introduction to music properly was through singing. I was part of a male quintet, and we're all like, the oldest one was I think 12, and I was the youngest one. I was like 7, and I was the soprano. And we were called, we were called the Heavenly Band Singers. And and it was a whole thing. We had a uniform, we had a manager, we toured. It was a whole thing.
Come on,
So
man.
that was
That's not
my
like Jackson 5.
yes. So that was my first introduction, and then we moved. And when your family moves, you just move, and that was the end of that. But then my first song that I can remember writing was at age 12. So the composition bug was pretty early.
Wow.
And during that time, in my teenage years, I was running the youth choir. So I had enough, even at that point, I had enough knowledge of music I understood basic harmony and basic, but it wasn't nothing complex. But that was my exposure. And then I formally studied music much later when I got to college. And then I had names for things, right? Before it was just by feel.
Right.
But that's been kind of my journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Dave, sir, will you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how'd you get involved in music?
Well, sure, absolutely. What's the church say? First, giving honor to God, who's head of my life.
Yes, indeed.
Author and finisher of my faith. Again, I won't get all that. I'm too Baptist. I'm too churchy. But for me, I think I was kind of inherited. So talent skips a generation and all of that. So both of my grandmothers very musically involved. Like my maternal grandmother was the lead first soprano in the Union College, now defunct HBCU in Georgia, in their choir.
Yes.
And she was just a Renaissance woman and strong community leader. So I think I got some of it from her. And then my paternal grandmother had a singing group. Her and some of her cousins were note-shaped singers down in Georgia. Yeah. And they were a little traveling group. They were kind of famous and all of that. So I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I think it's in my DNA, but I had a wonderful upbringing in Chattanooga, Tennessee, my hometown. Of course, I think everybody, started in the church or whatever with the youth choir, and I did some youth showcases and all of that. Got steered into accounting for college, so I have an accounting degree and an MBA. But I was always musically involved. Showstoppers with Diana Poe, at TSU, Tennessee State University. And end up getting an MBA back at home because I was broke and unemployed and ain't had nothing to do. So after that, went back to TSU. Went back to TSU. State of Tennessee offered me a job. I was like, sure, I'll come. And I ended up getting a music degree. So that's been my whirlwind music/business life.
Amazing. Damien, sir, would you tell us where you grew up and how did this rich music performance bug and composition bug, how did that all come into your life?
Well, I'm honored to be here with everyone, and thank you so much, my brother Kenny. I am actually in Augusta, Georgia right now, my hometown, and everything started here in this house, just a few footsteps away from here. I would watch an old television show, PTL, Praise the Lord, with Jim and Tammy Faye Baker with the toy piano, and I would bang on the piano and try to sing. And my mother started me with piano lessons with a neighbor down the street, not too far from here. And I remember I went to my third lesson and there was a for sale sign at the house, and I was completely distraught. I think I was just turning 4 then, because I started piano lessons around 4, started trying to play at 3. And I have to say this, I was adopted by 2 loving parents. And before they adopted me, when they got married, here in Augusta, Georgia, at the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, there was a young girl who was finishing up her freshman year at Howard University, where I would later attend. And she found out about Howard from the African-American composer Mark Fax, who was here at Payne College. And that was Jessie Norman. And she sang Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's at my parents' wedding. So, fast forwarding, I went to performing arts school, 5th through 12th grade. Like Tim, I was very steeped in the sciences. I actually had 22 full scholarships to Ivy League schools for pre-medicine, biology, biochemistry. I was going to do biochemistry. And at the last minute, from an opportunity in high school, singing right beside LaTanya Moore in the Grammy in the school's jazz ensemble, because I auditioned for piano and voice. LaTanya and I stood right next to each other. I decided to major in music at the last minute. And that was very, very troubling for a lot of people, especially going to school geared in academics. So I decided to attend Howard University, following in Jesse Norman's footsteps. Otherwise, I would have gone to conservatories that I applied for and, the other scholarships. So I went to Howard and majored in classical piano performance. And while I was there, my piano teacher, Raymond Jackson, had spent time at Juilliard, and his dissertation was on the music of African-American composers. I had a chance to play for the vocal studios of Carmen Balthrop, who's in Treemonisha, Matawilda Dobbs, Charlotte Holloman, who was in U.B. Blake's work. Sissel, Noble Sissel, sorry, not U.B. Blake. But anyways, one of the main people that I found such a closeness to at Howard was someone that I saw on television, and that was the great Sylvia Oden Lee, who I also met at the Axel competition, where April Haynes and her did a outstanding performance for me of Jacqueline Harrison's Guide My Feet. And it changed my life. I'm like, what are you doing here, Miss Lee? She's like, what are you doing here? The red. And, that changed my life, working with Sylvia Oden Lee. And from there, I just continued to try to nurture the skills that I got here in Augusta, playing at church, directing church choirs. Then the very next day, maybe playing with the jazz ensemble with Wycliffe Gordon, who introduced me to Wynton Marsalis, the trombonist who's from this area, or whether it was, going to a play or being a part of other artistic, multidisciplinary activities. I definitely got my roots here. And I even went to Peabody Conservatory trying to follow after Miss Norman. All those experiences helped to shape where I am today. But when we talk about the spiritual, being able to work with Sylvia Oden Lee, who had every aria, every opera memorized, she could tell you in Act 2, Scene 3, this is what happened, and Verdi really had a clarinet here. It really brought a level of ganache and a level of it's hard to strive for, because people like that Kathleen Battle, Jesse Norman, James Levine video of the Spirituals in Concert, they set it at such a high level, such a high level. And, all of us here, Sean, Courtney, Timothy, Dave, I know works by all of these great composers. I believe what we do is we put ourselves, our life experiences, our thumbprint into this genre, this art style, this form of music, to keep the class and keep the historic value of it, but at the same time to make it fresh, effervescent, and relevant to who we are and to all of our experiences. So I have a rich background coming from James Browntown.
Fantastic. Come on, Georgia. Come on, Georgia. And Georgia came through for us big time, didn't they?
Goodness.
Come on, Georgia. So, Dave, and this will be a question for all of you, for all the guests out there, if this is your first time at Black Opera Live, I have this thing that I call sharing my receipts, because I don't just have fantastic people on here and just talk about how fantastic they are. I show evidence of the brilliance and evidence of the beauty and evidence of the brilliance. And so before we get into my bag of receipts, I wanted to ask all of you, but starting with you, Dave, who are some of your composition idols? Who do you admire? Whose work as a composer really excites you?
Wow. I have to say, a lot of Black composers, J. Rosamond Johnson, Clarence Cameron White. I love Clarence Cameron White's work. R. Nathaniel Dett, Julia Perry, Margaret Bonds, but also with classical composers. Believe it or not, Czerny. I love Czerny, Clementi, Beethoven, Schubert. I love Schubert. So it's a lot of that, and Rachmaninoff. I wish I could play like him, but yeah.
I love me some Rachmaninoff. That piano concerto number 2.
Oh yeah,
mercy.
Yeah. I love to.
And to our guests, the ticker tape below It will tell you how you can further check out each one of these gentlemen and their work and how to support them and maybe how to get your hands and purchase some of their music to perform yourselves or share with those that you love. Now, I'm going into my bag, Dave, for my receipt of this spiritual that you arranged. Will you please set it up and tell us about it?
Absolutely. So I believe for the video, it's Calvary,
Yes.
arranged by myself, performed by a wonderful friend. She's basically an A1 since day one. Christina Ray Fentress. You've probably seen her. She won third place on America's Got Talent, the last America's Got Talent. So she's a friend, and she can blow the house down over there, and then hop on the opera stage and classic stage and blow the house down there too. So she did, she graciously did the video, and the accompanist is Horatio Gwendolyn, amazing pianist and photographer based here in Nashville.
Fantastic. Sit back and enjoy this Dave Ragland arrangement of Calvary.
Oh
Bravo, sir. Bravo, sir. Beautiful arrangement. Absolutely beautiful. Let me ask you, is what she did, is that exactly what's on the page, or did you allow or encourage flexibility?
What she did was for the most part on the page. Only thing is that every time that wasn't on there, but I just like, Christina, you gotta take it up. I think we funny story, we actually debuted this like a church Black History Month program. And I wanted her to pay a tribute, pay homage to, Grace Bumbry, Leontine Price, Shirley, and so I arranged that for that. And we did it like at 8 o'clock. I was like, let's put some high notes up in here. So that's how that happened. But I'm very flexible with as far as singers who want to, put an inflection in and all of that. I mean, that's what would happen in a church. So yeah, so I'm pretty flexible with that.
Fantastic. And viewers can buy this arrangement?
Correct. It is in my book. See, I knew I brought it out for some reason. My book,
yes, indeed.
Songs, and it is available at my website, daveragland.com.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Beautiful arrangement. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sean, sir, who are some of your composition heroes or sheroes? Tell us. You're muted. You're muted.
I'm that guy on mute. Yeah. So I can go from Charles Ives to John Adams, Arvo Pärt. If I'm going to really step back, I have to go back to Bach. The use of counterpoint is still very important to me in my music. My music doesn't sound like Bach, but he knew what he was doing.
Yes.
He used those contrapuntal principles in music. So yeah. So Ten Dunn, his color. Yeah. So, but then they're the classic, black composers of spirituals, that Burleigh, that we couldn't be here without them.
Yeah. So. Fantastic. So will you set up this fantastic arrangement of "Oh Freedom" for us?
Yeah. So I wrote an arrangement of "Oh Freedom." I call them reimaginations. It's on my first album of spirituals. My biggest collaborators are Will Liverman and Janae Bridges, and I'm just spoiled, literally. But this performance of "Oh Freedom" is by Wayne Arthur Paul. He performed it at Songfest at the Coburn School. Fantastic performance, and basically, it's a post slavery spiritual. This pretty much says, "Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom over me. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. To go home to my Lord and be free." And so it's a very, very simple words. But in this arrangement, my I guess reimaginations, they're duets, right? The piano is just as important, I think, as a vocalist. So I try to create that soundscape there. But you have this 2 and 4 cluster throughout the whole piece. Just almost like a dirge, but also reflective of enslaved Africans working. And so as the piece goes on, that 2 and 4 cluster still happens, but the pianist he or she, in this case he, keeps adding more stuff on top of that. And by the end, where the performer is just singing, I'm singing to glory, I'm going to go to heaven, the pianist is going crazy, but there's still that 2 and 4 cluster that's there from the very beginning. So "Oh Freedom," Wayne Arthur Paul.
Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Have mercy. Have mercy. Listen, I need to go buy that music because I need to sing that.
I'll send it to you. You VIP. I'll send it to you.
That is fantastic. I'm just share some of the love that's coming in the room at you. Now, you mentioned that some of your collaborators are people like Will Liverman and Janae Bridges. I mean, that's just fantastic. And so when you're writing, are you writing with their voices in your mind, or do they come to you and say, Sean, I need X, Y, and Z?
Oh, it's funny. I actually, with a lot of my songs and spirituals, I'm writing for them. So I know their voices like the back of my hand. I know their voices. So I write for them, which is a good thing because they just kill it. You know, the bad thing is, I guess, when other people perform it, it's not really written for them. But I'm a composer that loves interpretation. So, you know, for example, Will has a higher tessitura, so I have some bass baritones that will sing my music, and there's this depth that's kind of new that I don't necessarily get. So I write for them, but again, if you perform my music and you have heart, like this, what Wayne Arthur did in this arrangement or in this performance was phenomenal, even though it was written for Will. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I just wanted to say how important it is for collaborations like the ones that you just mentioned. Because, for example, a lot of people don't know, the Margaret Bonds arrangement of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands that everybody and their grandmama sings, that was premiered by Leontine Price at Carnegie Hall, at her Carnegie Hall recital debut in 1965. And can you imagine Leontine Price and Margaret Bond's good girlfriends? Margaret, girl, I'm doing this recital and I need a spiritual and I need you to write me something. And then she goes and does it and Leontine sings it and now everybody sings it. It's so important for composers and singers alike to have these incredible, incredible relationships. And to my fellow singers out there, make sure you're programming music of living composers, especially Black composers. Put it on your program and make sure it's on the printed page so that the audience can see who wrote it and be encouraged to go and find out more about these amazing artists. Please do that. Please, I beg of you. Sean, that was incredible, sir. Thank you. And I will be looking for that music. And my collaborative pianist buddy, Kevin Miller, is on here. And sir, we're going to get that together. Just so you know, that's next with us. All right. Now, Tim, sir, who are some of your composition heroes or sheroes? Unmute yourself.
Sorry. Mine definitely crossed from classical to into pop music. So in classical realm, Bach a lot. Again, my music sounds nothing like his, but I just love how he uses. I just love so much about his music, especially his bass. I also like Brahms a lot. I like Vaughan Williams a lot. I like Florence Price a lot. It's a late discovery for me, Florence Price, because of how we just haven't championed Black women in the past, and I'm just catching up to. But she's fabulous, and I'm learning a lot from her. In terms of arranging spirituals, Harry T, of course, classic, and then my two other mentors for songwriting and are Sting and Stevie on the pop side, and I take from that. Oh yeah, those are right for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, this receipt of yours, I get to experience quite a bit. One of the great joys of my life is touring with my family, the American Spiritual Ensemble, under the direction of Dr. Everett McCorvey. And so with this ensemble, not only do we sing choral masterpieces of spirituals, but he then inserts solo arrangements as well. And this particular arrangement of yours, entitled "Stand the Storm," it moves me every night when we're on the road. We could have 30 concerts and it will move me 30 times. And Gerald Cunningham Fleming sings it so exquisitely, so beautifully. And it's so hard to recover after her performance because then we have to stand up and sing a piece. And my larynx is all up here because I'm choked up with tears in my eyes, So I want to talk to you about your inspiration for writing this particular piece once we have heard the brilliance and beauty of the fantastic Dr. Gerald Cunningham. Lord, good God Almighty, good God Almighty, good God Almighty. Listen, Gerald, I know you out there, sister. You know,
Like, Gerald, you better sing.
my goodness. And imagine being on tour and having to sit there and listen to that every single night and trying to keep it together. I would just reach over and put my hand on her leg and say, girl, girl, you wrote that, sir. Where now
Thank you.
that's not one of the melodies or texts in spirituals that we hear all the time. Where did you
No.
find that, and what made you set that?
So, that was the Negro Spiritual Foundation. When I was selected as a composer in residence for that year, they gave me that spiritual, and I was like, "Why y'all giving me something I don't know? This is hard." But it was great. It was great, and I just want to give a shout out to you, Kenneth, because you were the reason they knew about me. I had just been writing arrangements and stuff in the New York area. And somehow you got a hold of my spiritual, Soon I Will Be Done. And you performed it in Florida. And that's how, so thank you. Anyway, I got to know about this because I was the composer in residence, and this was a spiritual they had selected. And all I could find were just clips and pieces of things. And it was all in 4/4. So it was like, stand the storm, it won't be long, da-dum, 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 dun, da-dum, like a march. And I was like, we can't do that. We can't do that. So so I just like allowed myself to soak in the words and the melody, the basic melody. And I always play around with rhythms. I thought, what if we do it in 5? You know, so it's da 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 da, and immediately the melody was like, yes, that's okay. Because I always feel like I have to ask permission of the words and the melody, and if they don't like it, I can't force it. So yeah, so that's how that happened.
Well, we are all grateful. And everybody out there, that arrangement, it comes in various keys.
Yes.
Because listen, I put my throat on it.
Yes.
I sang it in a recital in Toronto, and the Canadians were like, wait a minute. Listen, but Gerald is the standard. Gerald is it. Listen, I bow down in all due reverence to my sister. Thank you, sir, for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're at a halfway point, and so I'm going to pose to you my second trivia question to see who's going to get the second ticket to the Fort Worth Opera Gala, a night of Black excellence, past, present, and future, which is tomorrow. If you want to be a guest of mine with a complimentary ticket, answer this question, put your answer in the chat, and my spy that's in the chat will text the general director of Fort Worth Opera, Afton Battle, and she will come on at the end of today's show and announce the 2 winners. The second question is, Black Opera Live has had guests from all over the world, 7 different countries to be exact, that my guests have called in from. If you can name 3 of those 7 countries that my guests have called in from, you can be my guest tomorrow at the Fort Worth Virtual Opera Gala, a night of Black excellence. So put it in the chat and my spy will see it. I don't want to see it because I don't want people to think that I'm being prejudicial to whoever wins. If you can name 3 of the 7 countries that my guests have called in from over the last 9 months, you will be my guest tomorrow. All right. So next, Courtney, sir. Courtney. Who are some of your composition heroes or sheroes? Tell us.
Well, I have to say, if I had to sort of narrow it down, there would be 2 legit. The first is David Morrow, who is the conductor of the Morehouse College Clay Club. And the second, and I, you know, they're sort of half and half, I guess, Dr. Yuzi Brown, also from Morehouse. I think perhaps Dr. Brown's influence finds its way into my music more than anybody else's, just because I sang quite a lot of his music when I was a student. And I just somehow understood the style. I understood the emotional impact of his music. And I also could relate to the harmonic progressions that he used. I don't know if it's just because I'm from Memphis and he's from Cowpens. You know, that's the connection. But I could just always get into his music. And I have to say something that just sort of as an aside here, just before you play this, because I don't know what you're gonna play.
I'll tell you. You want to know?
Not yet, because it may influence what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But I just have to say that I am not a trained composer. I did not go to school and study composition. I've never taken a composition course. And so, you know, where I write from is from a very different place than perhaps a trained composer who's able to pull from a totally different bag of tricks. I shouldn't say tricks, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So, it's a different skill set. And so when I looked at the music of David Morrow and Uzi Brown, I used their music essentially as teaching pieces. That Dr. Morrow's arrangement of the spiritual I Can't Tarry is what started me off onto actually arranging. And I wanted to learn sort of how voice leading worked, because I'd learned it in theory, but doing it in practice is something altogether different. And then, you know, Dr. Brown's musical style helped me to sort of understand how to free up the things that I'd learned from looking at David Morrow's arrangement of I Can't Tarry. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
And I love Dr. Brown's "This river that runs through my life shall never be." Listen, that thing, I can't get through it. I can't. I don't program it because I can't get through it because I'm a mess. So Courtney, I from the videos that you sent to me to choose from, I chose your arrangement of "Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel?" And I think it's fantastic. Both the arrangement, the singer, and the pianist. You put quite a high bar of something to accomplish in this arrangement. And I want, after we listen to it, for you to talk about your process with this. Enjoy, and if you got wigs or something, I'll hold them down with extra pins, because this thing gonna hurt you.
He delivered fiery furnace. Then why not
Listen, I can't. Did y'all have to hose down the facility, the fire alarm door? Because listen, that thing right there is fire. Do you understand?
Y'all are hilarious. The text messages I'm getting on my phone, I can't even hold them up and show you.
Listen here. Courtney, that's fantastic. Where did that inspiration come from? And how did you know to place it in the capable hands of Justin and Jim?
So a little bit of a backstory. I had an idea in my mind for this for quite a while. I wanted to make a cycle of spirituals. And I knew that I wanted this one in it, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to write it. Yeah. And when I was writing it, it kept coming back to me that it was feeling like an art song. And I sort of struggled with, what is it supposed to be? And how am I going to write it? And the first thing that came to my mind is, as you see everybody is putting on here, is the Erlkönig of Franz Schubert. But believe it or not, that's not where those triplets came from. Okay. I got the idea for those triplets totally by accident. My piano is right behind me here, and I keep my tablet on the top of the piano, and the tablet fell onto the piano when I was reaching for something, and it literally made it made that as it went across the piano, and that's where the triplet, the idea for it came from. So anyway, as far as the singing is concerned, I had been talking to Justin about doing some music for him for a while. And then as this sort of idea to write Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel came up, I thought that he'd be perfect to sing it. And Justin sings. Like Justin is God. He sings. And so I knew that I had to have as many different sort of color possibilities in the music as I could sort of muster up. So there was one thing that I found in my research for this piece. If you listen to the what is it? I think it's the second verse. I used the words, the moon run down in a purple stream, the sun refused to shine, every star disappeared. Believe it or not, I'd never heard those words before. I'd never heard that before. I was looking at a recording of Paul Robeson, and he sang it in an arrangement of Did My Lord Deliver Daniel. And then I looked in the book, The Stars and the Elements by Willis Lawrence James. And he talks about the purple moon and the stars running down in the stream. And I finally understood where I'd heard the reference before, but I'd never heard those words used that way. So I decided to replace the verse that's typically there and put those words in its place.
It's fantastic. Kevin Miller, put that in our slot for the. Put that one down too. It's just so fantastic, so fantastic. And
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with me. And I had seen it on the actual concert that was on Idagio, but I knew I had to share it with the folks again, because that's some good stuff. That is some good stuff. Now, Damien, sir, tell us, who are some of your heroes or sheroes on the composition front, sorry.
There are too many to name, so I'll try to name a few. Beethoven.
Okay.
Strauss. Liszt. Copland. And as far as African-American composers, I love Margaret Bonds. Wynton Marsalis, of course. And I cannot leave out two who happen to be my mentors, Richard Smallwood, the way he has this Baroque way of expression, and most definitely Twinkie Clark, Elbernita Twinkie Clark.
Come on now.
It's with chords, and I mean, she's writing like tone poems for the voice, for gospel. Like I love Twinkie.
Fantastic. So this this arrangement of this particular spiritual, again, it's not one of the texts or melodies that you hear all the time. What drew you to this particular melody, and why did you want to set it?
Well, actually, the singer, Lawrence Brownlee, who is in a class of his own, my brother, my friend, he asked me to set some spirituals, but sketches of them.
Yes.
Not to put them in the same way that we've heard them. And speaking of Twinkie Clark, Lawrence and I both grew up in church. I grew up in the Baptist church here in Georgia, but he grew up in Ohio in the Church of God in Christ. So I grew up with this song, the senior choir sang it at my church, Good Shepherd Baptist Church, but I wanted to include the natural melismatic movement that we find a lot in African-American vocal expression. I think it was Dr. Darrell Taylor was just asking me for one of his students performed this spiritual arrangement, and he asked, did Lawrence, improvise any of the runs? Actually, I sang all of these for Lawrence and recorded Lisman, and everything that's written in the score is something that I heard, and he was amazingly able to execute every single melisma, every single run, every riff. But my goal in this spiritual arrangement, I think the recording that you have is my friend Craig Terry from the Lyric Opera Chicago accompanying Lawrence Brownlee from a performance they did featuring Sean's music and other singers and composers. But I wanted to create something that gave me the feeling that I saw when I saw Jesse Norman and Kathleen Battle singing spirituals, but also the feeling that all of us feel when we go to church or to a Black church, where the music became a conduit and the vessel which carried the lyrical content, so that people could feel covered. They could feel that angels were watching over them when they're in grief. Now is such an apropos time, with the pandemic. And Lawrence actually calls this Caleb song, his son, who has autism. And people don't know that I'm autistic. I was labeled on the autistic spectrum. I was in special ed, and my parents had me taken out and things like that. I was supposed to be put on medication. I stuttered. Then when I did start speaking, I was mute for a long time. So he and I have a special connection when we do perform this particular arrangement. But the idea, as Courtney said, I didn't go to school for composition. I've studied composition more as of recently, but I'm not, I don't consider myself to be a great composer. But all I wanted to do with this arrangement is allow people to feel tangibly in their emotions. And even if it's hair sitting on the back of their neck, I wanted them to feel the lyrical content the same way that spirituals were comfort and were the peace of mind that the enslaved, I'll say, were able to sing on plantations. I wanted that feeling to be imbued and to be released every single time it's played, every single time it's sung. So yeah. I think I told Larry this one time. I don't tell him this all the time because that head will get big. But this is one of your arrangements that he sings that takes me clean out every time I hear it. Every time. He nailed it consistently. Every single time. Everything. And I'm so glad that it's not written in my key and I can't sing it, because that would be something else I could not get through. Well, that's coming out now. A lot of people have been asking. I just wanted to wait and leave it for high tenor, but I am going to release that in a few weeks.
Oh, Lord.
Spiritual sketches for all voice types. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I'm sure you can go and look at that information on your ticket tape to find out when it comes out and how you can purchase it. Yeah. But right now, grab a tissue, go hug on somebody that's in your house, and be prepared to be moved by this incredible arrangement of All Night, All Day.
All night, all day, watching over me, my Lord, all night, all day. Angels watching over me.
Good God Almighty. Listen, there are times I can't listen to it. Like if I'm on like the train and I have my headphones on and my my iPod is like on random and that pops in, I got to turn it off because I'll be a mess in public on the subway and people looking at me like I'm crazy. That thing takes me clean out of here. I am so grateful that divine intervention made you put that to paper.
Yeah, I'm always verklempt. I can't even speak.
It's such an incredibly special arrangement, and I'm gonna put some of these comments up here because listen, I'm
gonna break protocol real quick and just say,
no.
Boy.
Listen, that's when an anointment is on you and on something you do, you can't deny that. It comes right on through. It comes right on through. And the hard part about putting this particular show together is I had to play you all's videos all the time to make sure I had all the buttons right and all this. Y'all took me out of here last night at 1-2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting up here. It's just too brilliant. I am so honored and proud to know all of you and to know that you are feverishly writing. And so I see that my other special guest is in the room, and I'm going to bring her in before I get back to you all because I have more questions for you all. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce or reintroduce or continue to celebrate this wonderful woman who has taken the reins as general director of Fort Worth Opera. Now, for those of you who do not know or understand the tremendous significance of that, she is one of less than a handful of Black women that has been named the general director of an American opera company. Now, mind you, there are over 200 opera companies across the country of America, and opera has been around for over a century. And we don't even need all of our fingers to count how many Black women have led. And that's crazy. But I am so glad that in this time and in this day, that the universe has seen fit to put this woman at the head of this opera company at this time. She and her team have spearheaded a performance that I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I want everybody under the sound of my voice that if you do not have a ticket, that you go and rush and get one, and she will tell you how. But I'm going to tell her why, or ask her to tell you why this concert is so important, who's on it, and how to be a part of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me welcome the new reigning and current general director of Fort Worth Opera, Afton Battle.
New reigning. All right. I like it. Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Kenny. Thank you. It is so, first of all, Courtney, never have I ever imagined and or known that you had those songs, or I will say that song because that's the only one that I heard in you, because that was stunning. Stunning. I mean, it really was. All of you. Anyway, I am more than blessed to be in the space of you amazing composers, and got to thinking about, oh, how can we make this come to Fort Worth? How can we put this together? Because I think y'all would just light fire to that place. It would be fantastic. Yeah.
So, Afton, will you tell us what is happening on tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time?
Yes. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. is Fort Worth Opera's Night of Black Excellence. I know it's not the nighttime, but just go with me there. It felt good at the time. And it is our benefit concert. It is an amazing production of what I described in an interview earlier, 2 hours and 10 minutes, so just prepare yourselves, of fabulousness. This project is and was a labor of love, and I am ready to birth this baby tomorrow. But it is a concert highlighting Black creatives, Black artists, singers, songwriters. Damien, you, one of our resident artists, is singing one of your pieces. And it is featuring Margaret Bonds, H.T. Burleigh, Adolphius Hellstark. I mean, just all of the wonderful Black composers that we know, in addition to some more traditional pieces, arias, art songs. And it's not only just singing. There is spoken word, original pieces written by a wonderful young woman from the Fort Worth area named Leslie Polk, some African drum groups performing, African dancers. So it really is an amalgamation of all things Black folk celebration. And I did that completely on purpose. And this entire project is created, produced, directed, spearheaded, managed by a team of Black individuals, both local and abroad. And I did that 1,000% on purpose, because I wanted this project to be, as I said to my colleague Fubu, literally for us by us. I did not want someone who was not Black telling me how to direct Black people doing Black things. Bottom line. So I sought out, with the help of 2 women who work for Fort Worth Opera, sought out local producers, local audio techs, local cameramen and camera people. We filmed portions of the concert at the historic I.M. Terrell High School in Fort Worth, which used to be the only Black school in the area, and students were bused from all over. Their principal, Baldwin Brown, wonderful Black man who is at the helm of that STEM and visual performing arts school. So I wanted to leave no stone unturned. And I wanted the representation to be seen far and wide, on stage, off stage, behind the camera, in the sound booth, all of it. So that's what's happening on Sunday, and it's going to be fabulous. Kenny will be singing, Karen will be singing, Russell will be singing, Patrice will be singing, Adam will be singing, Nagwanda will be singing, Nicole Heaston will be singing, Siobhan Perkins will be singing, Darius Thomas will be singing. I can continue to go on. Jarrell Williams will be singing. All of the most important voices and artists of my generation, friends and colleagues, are all a part of this. And it's really going to be tremendous. And I hope that you all will buy your tickets. We have a discount code for anyone interested. If you go to www.fwopera.org and our page, A Night of Black Excellence, you can purchase a ticket for $15, 15, using the code ANOBE15. I will put it in the chat. I will blast it all over the place again, but that is ANOB as in boy, E, the number 1, the number 5, all one word. In the discount code, $15 for general admission ticket. If you want to treat yourself, you can put in ANOBE 50, and that will get you a ticket to the VIP reception for $50 instead of $80. So we got you covered. However you want to come into the room, just come into the room, support these wonderful artists, support Fort Worth Opera. We all need everyone's support, not only philanthropically, but also just emotionally at this time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And the code is down here in the ticker tape with the website on how you can go and take advantage of this incredible concert that's going to happen tomorrow. Now, Afton has graciously allowed me to give away 2 free tickets to the viewers of this show today. And my secret spy has told me that we have the names of the winners and that she has forwarded them to Afton. I don't know who these people are. I will let Afton Battle tell us who will be joining me tomorrow at the gala. Tell us.
Yes. Your first guest will be none other than Paula Dion Ingram Coleman. That is Paula Dion Ingram Coleman. That is your first guest.
Fantastic.
Very excited to have you both. Your second guest will be Karen L. Thomas, composer, MD.
Wow, a composer on Composers. They look at that.
Yes. Composer with a K also.
Come
just
on.
so you know.
Let's do it. And 2 women too. I love it. Thank you for paying attention to my shows, Paula and Karen. I love you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And so Paula and Karen, you can DM me and I will get your information to Afton's people at Fort Worth, and we will get you the links and let you know how you can join us tomorrow. Thank you so much for playing. And Afton, I adore you. And thanks for coming on. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow with everybody else. I'm as excited as the audience is, and my throat is in the performance.
Yes, I am excited too. I've watched it several times and I'm gonna watch it again tomorrow. Just make sure your bubbles are chilled. Everyone who's coming, your guest, you yourself, Kenny, and anyone who's coming into the room, because we're gonna toast this thing all the way through from top to tail. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Afton. I adore you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And I can't wait to work with every single one of you. Seriously, in my mind, I'm already thinking about what's going to happen. Go
That's
get your vaccines.
Get your vaccines and let's get to work, right?
Oh, let's do that, please. Thank you.
Let's do it. I love you, darling. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Yay, yay, yay. What fun, what fun, what fun. So, gentlemen, back to you. I want you to tell us about any special projects that you have coming up that we need to be on the lookout for. Let's go around the room. Let's start with you, Sean. Is there anything that we need to look out for or manifest for you or look forward to celebrating?
You know, it's funny. Early in my career, I was probably known more for my instrumental writing, orchestra, band, and chamber music. But my career has taken an interesting trajectory to vocal writing, which I'm excited about because I love the voice. So in the next couple years, you'll get an opera out of me, maybe two. The second one I can't announce yet. And I'm doing a collaboration with Karen Slack and Will Liverman and Howard Watkins and some folks that will be premiered in a couple of years. I'm writing it this summer though, so look, so a lot of vocal writing. I'm super excited about.
Fantastic. Courtney, what's going on with you? You've got this magazine, which is absolutely stunning. And don't let Courtney fool you because the man cooks for the gods and goddesses. Like you just do so much. Tell us what we need to be looking out for.
I'm going to get you about that cooking thing, okay? So I am working now on the March and April issues of the whole review. And I can wave it up in the air like this because they are printed. And I'm very happy to say that I have now a UPC, the barcode. So you can actually, yeah. So it's evolving and moving on to the next phases, and I'm very excited about that. I am also working on two operas. One of them, I already have started with the librettist and sort of working on how we're going to formulate it. If he's watching this, he probably wants to kill me because I've been sort of derelicting my responsibilities and getting back to him on some things. But I have two that I'm sort of in queue right now. One of them, I will say, is about a very prominent and perhaps unheard of Black figure. If anybody comes up with this man's name and writes an opera about this man, I'm putting it on the record that I will come and hunt you down. But it's Alessandro de' Medici. Oh. And he was the first Black Duke and the first Black Duke of Florence. And I was inspired to write this because I'd seen the television show The Medicis on Netflix. And I've been talking to Barbara Quintiliani a lot about sort of what I could use as source material to write an opera. And she recommended 4 different pieces sort of as subjects. And I went to the Strand bookstore and I was looking for this particular play that Barbara had told me about. And I reached down at the bottom shelf as I looked down, like I'm still in the bookstore. But I reached down to the bottom shelf and I saw the name Medici, and I just watched an episode of it before I left the house. And so I put Barbara's books aside and I reached down and I got the Medici book and I started reading it in the store. And I knew that that was what I was supposed to be writing. And so that's one of them. That will take a little bit longer to do because I have a lot of research to do. And there's no sort of pre-existing source that I can really pull from except biographies about him, which, as I understand, are all sort of skewed towards the negative side. And I just, if anybody knows this, Arturo Schomburg, who started the Schomburg Research Library here in New York, did a research study about this particular guy. And so once things open back up, I'll be able to go there and sort of start my research. And then I have plans to go to Florence, to the Medici Library to do some more sort of digging around And hopefully I can talk with Catherine Fletcher, who is the biographer whose book seems to be sort of the most even keel and doesn't sort of paint this guy as like this big dark black man who did all these bad things. Because that's not really the case. Anyway, so that's sort of what I'm doing, the short of it.
That's fantastic. Your hands and plate are full. I love it.
Definitely.
I love it. Dave, sir, what you got going on that we need to keep an eye and ear out for?
So I am an MBA, so I'm always a salesman. I got a whole degree in marketing. So just the quick rundown. First of all, Kenny, thank you so much for including my work in your work, the on-site opera project. Thank you so much. I definitely look forward to that and hearing the whole gamut, the whole situation. This week coming up, Edwin Jamal Davis, the phenomenal bass who's at Portland Opera, is doing his recital, and he's doing a whole set of some of my spiritual arrangements. So,
oh, wonderful!
So that's coming up. I'm composing for the Ming Kwan's America the Beautiful project, which is having like 50 composers doing a variation of America the Beautiful. That's coming up, and I also need to really just kind of emphasize something coming up for me this week, the release of a piece of music called 8 Tones for Elijah. I actually composed it last year, just in honor of the violinist Elijah McClain. And so I'm using kind of the release of it to be a fundraiser for the Elijah McClain Justice Fund. And I can't really make any money. I wouldn't make any money out of this, so I want to use it as a fundraiser to really, help the cause. And it's an ensemble, chamber ensemble piece, but also an art song too as well. And so it'll be available on my website on Elijah McClain's birthday of February 25th coming up. So yeah, please, check it out, support, program it.
Yes, indeed. Fantastic. Congratulations. What about you, Dr. Tim? And can we, in addition to what you're about to tell us about things that we need to watch out for, will you please infuse your other life in being a doctor, not the doctor of music, but a medical doctor? Like, what is that about?
It just is what it is. What's funny is a lot of us have other. There are a lot of people with diverse interests at a high level. So I got to say I'm definitely not the only one. I'm often the face of this story, but it is a story out there that people are doing several things at very high levels. But yeah, that's where I find myself. I went into medicine because my older brother was a medical doctor. I had always been doing music, but I didn't really understand that this was something one could do as a solo career.
Yeah.
I think that was not a mistake by my parents. So I just kept doing it. And my brother was like, well, you have good grades and you like science, so why don't you go into medicine? I was like, okay, great.
Wow. So how does that work with your music creating? Like, is it two different sides of your brain? Like, for me it is. For me, it's two completely different sides. It's not the same way for other people. I've spoken to other people who are either nursing or have other jobs in music, and it's not. But for me, it's two completely different sides of my brain, and it's two completely different schedules. And it's kind of a mixed bag, to tell you the truth. So it has eased financial worries, right? So I mean, the bottom line is I'm financially much more secure than if I had not followed this path. But I also have a lot less time to devote to it than I want to, and I can't say yes to a lot of things that I could say yes to just because I can't. I can't meet the deadline for a large work. Right.
Turn it around in 6 weeks because I can only devote 2 hours a day or an hour and a half. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, Damien, sir, what's going on? What do we need to look out for? What you doing? What you up to?
1 second, Ken. Sorry, yeah. I did want to mention what's going on though, because I didn't get to. So there are 3 kind of big projects I'm working on from a music standpoint. The first is a book of spirituals. So, and that's the kind of like 2 years away. But what's most coming up soonest is a song cycle, which I'll be presenting with Edward Washington. He didn't know I was going to mention this because I didn't know I was going to mention this. But we're working on a song cycle on the poems of Khalil Gibran, and he's the one that he wrote the book The Prophet, which is much more popular. But his first book was called The Madman, and we're gonna present a song cycle called The Madman, and I think it's going to be good. It's going to be
Fantastic.
good. Yeah, and then longer term, I would say 5 years. I'm also working on an opera, and it is it's an idea that won't let me go. You know, Courtney, it's kind of like what you said, and it's about the Kandakes of Meroe. So this is where the word Candace comes from. These are the queens that ruled for hundreds of years in the area which we now call Sudan.
Yeah.
But was sort of like Lower Egypt, and these were women that, I mean, so there's stories of where they won in battles against Mark Antony, the Mark Antony of Cleopatra, and he had to actually pay them dues, and all. I mean, this it's incredible. So that's that I'm working on, and yeah, so that's kind of where we are. There's my project's coming up.
Fantastic. I'm so inspired by all of you. Good Lord. Damien, and I'm exhausted. Damien, tell us, what do we need to look out for you?
So I'll share on three fronts, my foundation, some performances, and on the opera front. So this is my first time announcing this. It's been in the works for about 2.5 years, but the Damien Sneed Foundation, I will be making announcements about an international competition for composers, instrumentalists, and vocalists. Then as far as virtual performances, I have a few virtual recitals coming up. One next week, this coming week with Brandy Sutton, sponsored by the Harlem Chamber Players. Then I have a virtual performance with Janae Bridges, who Sean works with a lot. We're friends from MSM, sponsored by San Francisco Opera. I think that's coming out on March 11th, I think, or 2 weeks from now. And then I have a virtual recital with, we heard Courtney Carey's arrangement performed it's with Justin Austin. The recital will be with Justin Austin and Brandy Sutton, curated by the great Russell Thomas, sponsored by LA Opera. And then as far as the opera front, right now, while we're here in Houston, and my prayers are going out to all the people, impacted by the inclement weather and the loss of electricity. But Houston Grand Opera is forging ahead. Last year, right before the pandemic really hit America, my opera, Marian Song About the Life of Marian Anderson, which incorporates spoken word, was the last opera performed at Houston Grand Opera on the proscenium stage. But they're working to film that, featuring Zoe Rames and also Nicholas Newton as Billy King, Marian's accompanist. And then lastly, I'm really excited about this opera, especially you would like this, Kenny, but it's commissioned by Opera Theater of St. Louis, and it's entitled The Tongue and the Lash, with my friend Karen Chilton as librettist. And it's basically takes place immediately after the 1965 debate between James Baldwin and William Buckley.
Wow.
And a lot of people like, maybe Baldwin should be a tenor, but I decided to make Baldwin a baritone. So there's some good arias there for Baldwin, and William Buckley happens to be a tenor. So that's going to be performed. I think the premiere is going to be now outside at their outdoor festival. It's going to be like an outdoor festival because of the pandemic in St. Louis. But I'm looking forward to hearing people like you, Kenny, be able to perform the role of James Baldwin. That's another figure that his name has to be heard, sung, repeated. Like his words are so apropos with what we're dealing with now. And the theme is the American dreams at the cost of the American Negro.
I posted about him just the other day. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do.
Yes, I like that.
Put a beautiful melody on that with a little shade at the end. Listen, that's fantastic. You all are doing amazing things, and I'm just put in the universe that I need a spiritual cycle with one spiritual by each of y'all for me. And I'm a premiere at Carnegie Hall, the next recital I have there. So I'm just put that in the universe. No pressure. It's just in the universe. So now I want to venture into some fun questions because I'm curious about your process. How long does it take you to write a spiritual arrangement? Do you get these bursts of energy where you can write it in a couple hours or a day or two, or does it take you months, or does it take you years? What is that inspiration that comes in, and how long does it take to manifest into completion? Let's start with you, Sean.
So it's misleading. People say, "Well, Sean, you're a fast composer." It's kind of misleading. And this is a controversial statement. As soon as you add text, I believe, as soon as you add text to something, I think text is the most important thing. Okay. A lot of composers hate when I say that, but I just do. And so I will have a text. I will stew with the texts forever before I write a single note, even a simple spiritual, because these texts, even though they're simple texts, they have so much depth and meaning, especially if you try to put them in the context of when they were sung. And so I stew with text for a while, but then when I actually start to write, it's actually pretty quick. It's actually pretty quick. So,
what about you, Court?
It kind of depends on what the task is, but this is gonna sound really arrogant, okay? So I don't intend for it to sound like this, but I can't write, and I don't write unless I have something to say. And if I know I have something to say, it generally won't take me very long, because I know I have this to say. Like with Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel, I wrote the framework for it in 1 minute and 25 seconds. I had some stuff that I had to obviously do to, fill out the skeleton, but I knew what the basic thing was. So that's pretty much it for me. There's like, if it's a larger piece, then that takes me some doing, because I have to study things of orchestration and all that kind of stuff. But generally, piano vocal stuff, I can get done maybe a day or two. But I have to really know what I'm saying. That piece.
What about you, Dave?
Well, I mean, I'm here in Nashville. I'm in Music City, and you can throw a rock and hit a songwriter. And I think it was a country writer, Willie Nelson, always said, you can always find a song because you can literally pull one out the air. And so I feel that way, honestly, with a lot of my process. I've learned, hustling these streets, to write quick. So yeah, I mean, I've pretty much learned how to write quickly, but I'm always pulling stuff. I'm just a sponge.
Yeah.
I'm in like the Fisk Library, the TSU Library, just listening and absorbing. So that way I already have it here, and I'll just, turn it out. So that's kind of my process. People think like I had something more elaborate, but I'm like, no, I'm like deadline oriented. Like, right. You got to give me a deadline. You want a Tuesday? I got a Tuesday. Like I'm going to spend time and sleep with the text and put it under your pillow. I don't have time to do that. Like, we got to get it out. We got to get this coin.
Right. I hear that. What about you, Tim?
I was going to say it depends. So for me, I need to spend time with the text.
Yeah.
So if it's a text I already know, then the actual writing is relatively fast, but I need to spend time with text. Some stuff doesn't come quick though. So like if I take Stand the Storm as an example, the basic framework, and Courtney kind of alluded to this, came really fast. Like all of a sudden it clicked, and I was like, okay, I know this is going to be in 5/4. I know it's going to be in 3 sections, and and then, but from that point to all the like different with the way it changes its tonal center and so forth, that took weeks. Like figuring it out. So,
okay. And Damien, What about you?
For me, I have to wait for inspiration. When I just write to write, I feel like I'm doing an assignment for class. And I just don't like it. So I feel better. Like I'll walk around with my cell phone and I'll get voice notes, for a memo, and I'll just start recording little pieces. But when I have the inspiration, I can write very, very quickly. But otherwise, I'll just be sitting at the piano and I feel like I'm just putting things together just for the sake of putting them together. But for me, everything I have to like hear it from my inner muse, or to be divinely inspired. Just I have to hear it and feel it, and then it's right there. So sometimes for me, like if I have a deadline 6 months later, I make the whole idea, 2 months in. Sometimes it comes the week before.
Wow.
But I have to wait for that. For me, I have to wait for the inspiration.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I don't feel like I can live with what I'm giving, to people.
Gotcha. Okay. So quick question, fun question, non-musical question. Are you a breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, or brunch kind of a guy? What's your favorite? Let's start with Sean.
That's easy. A dinner. Take me to a Michelin restaurant. I'm bougie when it comes to food. Yeah, dinner easily.
Dinner. Okay. Courtney.
So everybody's going to expect me to say dessert, but no, it is not dessert. Dinner is just,
Okay.
Yep.
Tim.
Brunch.
Okay. With mimosas.
Yes, and dessert.
Dave.
I always answer this whatever is free and catered. But for me though, not breakfast. I just can't get into breakfast. It's just not my. But lunch, dinner, good dinner, especially like 5-course situation.
Catered, of course. Yes, indeed. Damien.
I can't say all of them, right? I love food.
Listen, I know you love food.
Breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, and dessert. I love them. I love eating. Yeah.
Love eating. You're hosting a dinner party and you can invite 4 singers, living or dead, that you want to write for. Who are they? Let's start with Sean.
Man, I'm always first. Cecilia Bertoli, Michael Jackson, so many good ones. But besides my 2 faves, Will and Janae, I have to think for some more. Yeah, I have to think about this more.
Okay. What about you, Court?
You said 4, right?
4, living or dead, that you want to write for.
Okay, Luther Vandross, number 1.
Sorry, stop you. Whitney.
See, that ain't even right. Okay, so I'll change mine then, because that was gonna be
you don't have to change it.
So I got another one. All right, so Luther, Leontine Price, I would love to write something for. And believe it or not, I'd love to write for 93-year-old Leontine Price. I have something in my mind that I think she would just like. Anyway, so Franco Corelli and Mahalia Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
Wow. For me, I had to be first about the 2 people who I would say saved my life. Leontine Price and Placido Domingo. I would say, believe it or not, Renee Fleming. I love Renee Fleming. And I would say on the pop side, Ariana Grande. That's my girl.
Okay. Tim?
I need a minute to think about this one, but Cecilia will be on there for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are y'all writing all those fast and furious runs for her that she can do?
Yes, exactly.
I love her. She's such a great artist. So I'll let you marinate and go to Damien.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say Leontine Price, Maria Callas. Then I would say Daryl Coley.
Ooh.
What a voice. And another singer I would say would be Whitney Houston. Yeah.
Fantastic. Tim, you ready?
Lucretia Campbell.
Ooh. Mercy.
That's why I said I needed a minute. And John Mark Ainsley. I always he just can sing a song.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, I forgot my girl Audra McDonald.
Okay. Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
She can turn a song and some text too. I love me some Audra. Love her. All right, gentlemen. I have had you all on here for 2 hours. It's amazing. I first want to say thank you for spending 2 hours of your time with me. 2 hours that you could have been writing some more music. But I'm grateful for your artistry and what you're putting out into the world, particularly in this time when we need your voices, we need your sound, we need all of them. So please keep busy, keep at it, stay inspired. And my last question to you is, I know that heaven exists, but what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? And I'll mix it up and start with Dave.
I would say, well, Dave, that was it. You did everything. You did everything I asked you to do. So there you go.
Gotcha. What about you, Tim?
I want to hear well done. That's it. You know.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done. Courtney?
Choose your seat and sit down.
Okay. Okay. Just to choose your seat and sit down. I love it. Damien?
I know this is going to sound deep. If God was telling me, he'll say, welcome. Thank you for emptying yourself and utilizing every possible amount of time, energy, resources, gifting, talent to show my love in the earth. Yeah,
I love that. And Sean?
Yeah, as the ultimate creator, thank you for creating.
I love that. I really love that. Amazing, amazing. So everybody, listen, go out and support these gentlemen. Follow them on Instagram. Go to their websites, buy their music, go to performances where their music is being performed, and celebrate them and celebrate their music and their gifts to the world. And before we go, I wanted to let everybody know that I'm working on another incredible project with the fantastic and amazing Denise Graves. Denise Graves has started the Denise Graves Foundation, and she has picked up the charge to help save the National Negro Opera House, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was saved as a historical landmark, but we need to figure out how to refurbish it and bring it back to its glory that its original founder, Mary Carwell Dawson, had intended. So you will be hearing more about this project from me in the weeks to come and how you can support us in this endeavor and the Denise Graves Foundation. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm so excited about it, and it's right up my alley. And I know that this community can show up and show out when it comes time to support and get things done. So it'll be another venue where we can showcase the music of these fantastic composers. So be on the lookout for that. And don't forget Monday at 7 with Cynthia Heyman, Cynthia Clary, Marietta Simpson, and Paula Dion, Ingram Coleman, and then Wednesday with Leona Mitchell at 7 o'clock. I love y'all for watching. Thank you. Take care of yourself and each other. Gentlemen, stay on, and we'll see you next time. Good afternoon.